Hey guys, Chris of the Polish Geek welcomes you to another movie review. A review of the newest MCU movie, Spider-Man Brand New Day. What did I think of the movie? Because I've been actually quite looking forward to it, because if there is one MCU character who's still I'm looking forward to and whose story I'm still invested in, it's Spider-Man, actually. What among other things worked always so well about Spider-Man is that he's that character that worked so well on his own without needing the larger MCU universe. And that's partially why I was looking forward to it. And also because I still think Spider-Man No Way Home was a really great movie. It and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 I still think are the best post-Endgame MCU movies. Actually, for me, it's still easily Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, but Spider-Man No Way Home is a very close second. And no, Far From Home I don't really count as that, that's more like an epilogue to Endgame. But whatever, because I'm still invested in MCU's Spider-Man story, because of that, I was looking forward to Spider-Man Brand New Day. And also because that seemed to be finally be the huge, big-scale Spider-Man that we all as fans really love, actually. Because again, the first two were mostly about his high school years as this small-scale friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, and then No Way Home was setting him up as this big-scale hero that we know from some Raimi, Tobey Maguire movies, and then the pretty bad Andrew Garfield movies. But what did I think of Spider-Man Brand New Day? Did I like it? Well, I did. I really enjoyed it and was pretty entertained by it, but I have to be honest, it's not as good as I hoped it would be. The first thing I'll say about it is that people were saying it's very overstuffed and there's just so much stuff in it. Is it true? Well, yes. That I will get out of the way, very much so. It's very overstuffed. People have been complaining that Spider-Man 3 was very overstuffed, but if they still think Spider-Man 3 is overstuffed, then I don't even want to imagine how they feel about this movie, because Spider-Man 3 compared to Spider-Man Brand New Day is actually a very straightforward, simple story, actually, compared to this. And by the way, I actually love Spider-Man 3. I think it's a very underrated movie and a really great conclusion to the Sam Raimi trilogy. In fact, I actually reviewed it. I tried to review it only a few days ago on this channel, but unfortunately I used a lot of clips from the movie and YouTube has blocked the video because of that, which I don't know why. I've been using clips so often in the past, actually, and never got copyright blocked, but I guess Sony is very much strict about protecting their rights. Whatever, I did attempt to review Spider-Man 3 and tell you guys why I think it's a great movie and why it's underrated, but whatever, because of the many clips I used, YouTube sadly has blocked the video. Just know, I love Spider-Man 3 and I think it's a really great conclusion to Sam Raimi trilogy, and I completely disagree with the hate. But on to Spider-Man Brand New Day. As I said, it is very overstuffed, and while I was watching it, I did kind of feel lost in some things, but then I thought to myself, will it be one of those movies that's so overstuffed that you completely stop caring? Or maybe it's one of those overstuffed movies that despite how much content it is, it's actually part of the appeal, actually, and it will be perfect fit for a couple of rewatches to digest and invest everything. Because overstuffed movies can fall into either of the two categories. Either you get so lost and you completely stop caring about any character, or alternatively, you can watch the movie, digest it many times, and get bigger appreciation each time for it. But into which category Spider-Man Brand New Day falls into? And I say, it being overstuffed, for me, it's actually the least of its problems. In fact, I actually found plenty of the things really interesting in this movie. What I really liked especially was kind of him and callbacks to his personal life in the first three movies, because we all know how Doctor Strange has wiped out Peter Parker's... he wiped out everyone's memory and everybody forgot who Peter Parker is, and then we already saw in the trailers how he's going to be meeting his old friends who don't remember him. And I thought that stuff was really well done and really emotional, and I really liked that. Without spoilers, I will say, not sure if I'm quite happy with the direction that it is very clearly going. It felt like kind of basically undoing the very bittersweet ending of Spider-Man No Way Home. It feels like they're going the easy route and kind of trying to undo it, and I'm not particularly fond of that, but at the same time, I would be lying if I claimed I didn't feel very emotional in all of that, because I very much did, so I guess I'll wait and see where this is going, even though I do think they're clearly trying to take the easy way out. But at the same time, I did feel pretty emotional at that, so there is that. And another thing that people have been very much wondering is Frank Castle, the Punisher. And I already said before on this channel, I'm a huge fan of Netflix The Punisher. I think it was a really great show. I like how gritty and violent and kind of more like a street level crime it is. I mean, I love both The Punisher and Daredevil, and first season of Jessica Jones wasn't particularly fond of Daredevil Born Again, but yeah, Frank Castle is in this movie and I think he was really great too. That's actually maybe even the best part of the movie, the dynamic between Spider-Man and the Punisher and their different philosophies and views on life and all, and it was kind of colliding it. So yeah, I thought their dynamic and cooperation was really great and possibly the best part of the movie. Besides, again, it was easily the best part of the movie. And as I already said, I did also really like kinda his callbacks to his personal life from the first three movies, even if I'm not particularly sure I'm happy where the direction is going. And I also did quite like the story with Jean Grey and all. I thought this was really interesting and the twists were really interesting and it really made you think. But now we're coming back to the actual problems that the movie had, and it kind of goes back to the point how I was saying it's overstuffed, because those are the things I didn't think it really worked for the movie, because the biggest problem, I think, Spider-Man is a character that one of the things that makes him so great in the MCU and Marvel in general is that he works so well standalone, is that he doesn't really need a larger MCU universe, because again, Spider-Man works best as a standalone character when he basically balances his personal life and his struggles with his superhero persona, and that's actually what made the Sam Raimi, Tobey Maguire movies work so well. That's what made them so great. They struck a perfect balance between Spider-Man as a superhero and action, and Peter Parker and his personal life and his typical human struggles that we all could relate to, actually. And that's what I think Spider-Man stories are at their best. And I was hoping that Spider-Man Brand New Day would be also going in this direction, especially that in some ways Spider-Man Homecoming and Spider-Man Far From Home and this and No Way Home for that matter as well did actually very much also focus on that. But the biggest problem with Spider-Man Brand New Day is that it doesn't really focus all that much on Spider-Man. I mean, it does, but it also tries very much to connect to the larger MCU narrative, which I just don't think works very well for movies about Spider-Man. Again, Spider-Man I think is at his best when he is solo, and when the movie focuses on his personal life and his life as a superhero. But that said, I already said before and will say it again, I do think Frank Castle, the Punisher, was great. But that's also what I think the movie has done very well, because you might as well not watch The Punisher and he still would work very well, because I think the movie did a really excellent job at introducing him as a character specifically for this movie without requiring the audiences to know Frank Castle from before. Again, I really love The Punisher Netflix show, but I do think that the fact that you don't really have to watch The Punisher to really understand Frank Castle in this movie, I do actually think it worked very well for this movie. They basically get the best of both worlds, both for the fans of The Punisher, as well as for those who just want to watch Spider-Man. Again, when it comes to introducing Frank Castle, I think the movie did a splendid job here. And while I'm talking about it, the more I'm actually remembering that the biggest problem with the current MCU, besides plenty of political agenda inserted pointlessly, it's pretty clear that story-wise, ever since Avengers Endgame, MCU clearly doesn't know in what direction it wants to go or what it wants to do with itself. It's like, it's a complete mess and it's completely lost. Like, the reasons why previous Spider-Man movies and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, as well as the newest Fantastic Four movies all work so well, is because they're pretty much self-contained stories, while Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 was a perfect conclusion to the previous two Guardians of the Galaxy movies and their post-Avengers Endgame adventures. And once again, Spider-Man No Way Home was pretty much a standalone story devoted to the character development of Spider-Man, as well as Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire coming in. But as a whole, the MCU has been completely lost and clearly doesn't know what direction it wants to take, which makes all the connections in Brand New Day to the larger MCU and clearly setting up a lot of MCU stories even more painful and more messy. Because, once again, when the movie focused on Spider-Man, I think it was really good, really interesting, and really engaging. Again, I found it really interesting how he was trying kind of to return to his personal life and really emotional. Again, not sure I'm particularly happy in the direction it's clearly going, but I would be lying if I claimed it didn't make me emotional. And again, I thought his dynamic with Frank Castle was really good, and I like how they had those two contrasting philosophies. And because I love Frank Castle, I think his return was really welcome, and the movie did a really great job at introducing him in a way that he works for the story, but you don't really need to be familiar with his show. And once again, I also do think that the whole story of Jean Grey was really interesting with some really cool, unpredictable twists, and I thought that her beginning her kind of friendship or whatever it will be in the future with Spider-Man was also really well done. But at the same time, I think this movie just connects way too much to the larger MCU universe, and the fact that the larger MCU universe clearly doesn't know in what direction it wants to go or what it wants to do with itself makes it even harder. Ultimately, I think that there are things to love in this movie, but I just think it's done way too much setting up different MCU projects as opposed to focusing on Spider-Man, even though that's when Spider-Man works at his best. When he's solo, when a movie focuses either on his personal life and his life as a superhero, and that's it. We don't need larger connection to the MCU universe, especially when vast majority of people don't really care for MCU universe. So ultimately, of the MCU Spider-Man movies, where do you rank this one? I say, I certainly like it less from No Way Home, and if I'm being honest, less from Far From Home as well. I do think it's better than Homecoming, that's for sure, but I still think it's nowhere near as good as No Way Home and not as good as Far From Home either. So ultimately, if I had to rank it among the four Spider-Man MCU movies, I would probably put it at number 3. Above Homecoming, but below Far From Home and No Way Home, of course. But ultimately, this is my review of Spider-Man Brand New Day. Not as good as I hoped it would be, and certainly nowhere near as good as its predecessor and the predecessor before that, but certainly much better than 90% of modern Marvel movies. Not like it's a particularly high bar to clear anyway, but at least I'm still invested in the Spider-Man story that I'm looking forward to the next MCU Spider-Man movie, whatever it will be. But thank you all of you for checking out the review of Spider-Man Brand New Day. Press the like button, please subscribe to this channel, and I will talk to you soon in another video. Talk to you then, bye!